Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Soar to Success Summit. I'm your host, Vanessa Levin, and joining us today is Lavana Roth.
Hi,
Welcome,
everybody.
Lavana. Hey,
Hello.
guys. Let me tell you a little bit about Lavana before we get started, okay? So, Lavana is all about these things: self, heart, inspire, navigate, and exceptional. And if you look at all of those together, they spell out shine. These words capture the path that Lavana Roth uses to challenge others in finding out how to ignite the shine in their students, others, and themselves. As a learning specialist, author, keynote speaker, and consultant, Lavana bridges her passion for how the brain learns with education and in helping every individual realize the value they bring. I love that. She has a bachelor's degree in special ed, a master's in the art of teaching, and a master's in educational leadership. Lavana taught at the elementary and secondary levels in Ohio and Florida and is the author of 8 books. She's presented in the US, Canada, Europe, and the Middle East on increasing engagement and the fun factor in learning. She is the creator and founder of the Ignite Your Shine movement, where every person is encouraged to use his or her skills, talents, and gifts to illuminate the world. Thank you, Lavana. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Yes, this is such an important topic for us because we as early childhood teachers, I think that we are in general overworked, exhausted. It's really hard to ignite your shine when your flame has been blown out, right? So
Yes.
we're
Yes.
we're here to talk about the importance of self-care, taking care of you so you can take care of others, whether that's your family or your students. It sounds so simple, but Lavana, why do so many teachers like myself struggle with this concept? Can you enlighten us, please?
I will try. No, it's one of those that I think as educators, we have such heart of gold and we care so much about individuals and everything we do. And it's interesting when I do, sessions, workshops, keynotes across the country, and as you said, kind of reading my bio a little bit around the world, what I find is that so many people are perfectionists when it comes to being an educator, and has a lot to do with wanting to do what's best for kids and wanting to make sure evaluations are in line, with how we're scored and things like that. And it gets to put a lot of pressure, but a lot of that pressure is on ourselves too. And one of the things that I realized, and I I highly recommend everyone think about it from this perspective, is that we all don't have everything. So what I mean by that is that when you see the teacher who does the most incredible bulletin boards where you're drooling and you're like, okay, how do they do that? And how do they find the time for that? And then you've got the teacher who seems to have everything organized and perfectly in stacks and in rows. And then they have the cutouts and everything's been cut out. Like, how did you find time? Were you up till 3 a.m. and back up at 4 to cut out everything? Like, and you see all of these things, and the teacher who knows how to work with his child who's the behavior issue at that point. So we see all these things, but what we often don't realize is one person is great at the bulletin boards, for example. A different person is great at the behavior management. Another person is great at the cutting out and getting things done. But if you looked individually at each person, they don't have all of those things in a row. And even if they appear to have it all in a row, most likely they don't. There are things that we don't know about everybody. But we become such critical eyes on ourselves, thinking that I have to be great at that and that and that and that and that. And that. I'm already exhausted. I'm done. Just forget it. And how do I ever achieve this? And I think that's where burnout comes. And then we don't take care of ourselves. And I think that's critical to take care of yourself, because how do you take care of others if you don't take care of you? So
Right.
finding that time, that saying, hey, it's okay. It's how do I bring the value to what I have as gifts, so that when we all come together, it is unstoppable. It is a dynamic culture.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point because we're always looking, especially in the digital age now. There's Pinterest, there's teacher blogs, there's Facebook, and we see these amazing photographs. And we're like, "Oh, I want that. I want to be able to do that." But then we get lost. We lose ourselves. Like for me personally, I'm not a bulletin board person. And I wanted to be so bad. I wanted to be that person who was a bulletin board person. And I tried. And finally, I don't know, somewhere into my 5th year of teaching, I said, you know what? I'm not a good bulletin board person. And I'm taking up a lot of my time and energy on something that I don't enjoy and I'm not good at. And so I handed it off to somebody else. I handed it off to a teacher assistant who did enjoy it, who was good at it. I can't even tell you what kind of relief I felt at that point. Like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. It's amazing.
Yes, and that's exactly with H and Shine. You read was passion, which is all, or heart, which is all about passion and purpose, and that's exactly it's narrowing down what am I not only S and self, taking care of me and serving myself and serving others, but also what are my strengths, and then you marry that with your passions. Like imagine being in a school where that's what was valued and honored, and that easily can happen with one person to then you pull in somebody else, and now you start collaborating in that way and sharing that you aren't drained just because you're thinking, oh, it's that time again to do a bulletin board, and I don't want to do bulletin boards. I don't like doing bulletin boards, but yet, Susie Q next door is like, I love bulletin boards. Let me do it. Let me do it. So why not allow that and using your gifts to help her in that way or him, and it just really comes together so much better.
Right. And if we I think in my personal experience, it was that I felt like my value as a teacher was being judged on my bulletin board. And when I let that go, I kind of said in the back of my head, am I going to be fired because my bulletin boards aren't very good? Probably not. I'm probably not going to be fired for that. So why not just let that go? What's most important here? And the most important thing is the children. Are they learning? Are they happy? Do I enjoy teaching them? I don't enjoy bulletin boards. So I just let it go. And I think that was a powerful thing when I realized that if Susie likes bulletin boards, then that's how she shines, right?
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
not how I shine. So it actually dulled my shine. It was so stressful and upsetting for me.
Yeah.
So I just let it go. So I've been thinking about, we talked about why teachers struggle with this concept of self-care, and we've talked about how challenging it can be to let go of things. But why is this concept so important? So we're here talking about soaring to success, right? This is the Soar to Success Summit, and we are going to help or learn about how to help ourselves soar to success this year, as well as our students. What does self care really have to do with that? Can you explain a little bit more about how self care comes into play when we're talking about having a successful school year? Because I think this is the perfect time to talk about it.
Yes, because this is the end of the year where 1,000 things are happening, and you're getting hit with everything at once, and you're trying to wind up the year, and you've got grades, and you've got parents meetings, and you know putting on awards banquets, and whatever else is going on. It gets to be a lot, a lot. But I think in order to source it to success, and I love that theme and that title because I think that's exactly what it is that in order to soar to success, that you do have to take care of you, and it's all about filling yourself up. And it was one of those when I did a graduation speech, a commencement speech, I had said to the seniors, I said, I want you to know that I'm going to tell you the opposite of what society says. And society says to take care of others first. And I'm telling you the opposite. Because if you don't take care of you, how do you take care of others? And in education, again, going back to the idea that there's such a passion. I mean, everybody might be in it for the money. Ha ha ha. I'm guessing no, right? knowing that it really is a passion, it's a calling. That's a beautiful thing. What a gift to have. And because so many people, as they get older, still don't know what they want to do in life. Most educators don't say that, because there's that passion calling. But that also can be our curse because we want to give, give, give. And how do I find a better strategy? And how do I help this particular student? And okay, at home, they don't even have food. So how can we assist in that way? Like, there's so much that comes into this that it's easy to forget about taking care of you. Yet, I know, Vanessa, I think you've seen this too, is that towards the end of the year, and I would say it starts about February, March, but from that point on, is educators start missing a lot and coming down with the flu and viruses and strep. And I know personally for me recently, I came down with a virus and 6 days of fevers. And so I was go, 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 go. And what was I doing? Not taking care of myself. Like exactly what I preach. I was getting my workouts in and I was eating better, but I still wasn't resting. And I think that's the critical part of this is to do self-care. And we talk about social emotional well-being of students and the whole child, but what about the whole teacher, the whole educator? And taking care and taking that time for you. So I'm going to encourage everybody listening to this to figure out where that line in the sand is going to be for you. You have to draw that line and figure out, okay, so I'm not going to work past 5 p.m. I will cut out things until 3 p.m. and then until 4, I'm doing this. And maybe a student or a parent or somebody else can help me cut things out, or maybe family members. Maybe it could be a thing that you come together and you just cut things out. And I know I'm kind of simplifying it by saying cutting things out because there's lessons and so much more to be involved. But where can you draw that line in the sand and say, what, once it hits to this point, I'm not doing any more. Because in all honesty, we can find more and more and more to do. There will always be more things, but there won't always be you if you're not taking care of you. So draw that line in the sand and saying at 6 o'clock every night, I'm doing dinner with my family or with friends. At 7 o'clock, I'm working out. And then I can choose after that whether I want to do more or whether I'm actually going to have a bubble bath, do a massage, read a book, and it might not be educational. Like, what is it that's going to be time for you?
Right. And I think you hit on an important point is that self-care is going to be individual to each person because what is considered self-care to one person may not be considered by another. And I know that a lot of the folks out there watching, members of our Facebook group and so forth, we talk about this concept in the group called dollar store therapy. And there's a group of us out there that enjoy and find some kind of a boost in our mental state when we go to the dollar store to find these little things to use in our classroom. It's like, that's our thing, but that might not be your thing, and that's okay. Whatever your thing is, right?
Yep. Finding what works for you. Yes.
Right.
And sometimes, that's by yourself. Sometimes it's with a friend. Sometimes it's with a family member. It could be an activity outdoors. It could be inside, finding what it is that works for you and making sure you build in that time.
Yes, I think that's so important. One of the things I like to do, and I don't know if I'm thinking this fits into self care. I'm not really sure. You let me know. You're the expert. I don't know. But like when I find a series on Netflix that I really, really like, right? You know how you like to binge watch those. But what I find myself doing is saying, okay, I'm going to fit this into my self-care routine. And if I can get this done by this time, like within my time frame, then during this time, like at night, after we have dinner and after I've done whatever other things, I'm going to allow myself to watch one episode of this. Does that fit?
I love it. If it's something that refreshes you, rejuvenates you, gives you that energy back, then yes, that was self care.
Okay.
That's great. No, I'm right there with you. And sometimes it could be more than one show at a time.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And if I binge watch the whole thing, then I feel guilty. And then I kind of feel, I shouldn't have done that. I have so much to do, but I kind of parcel them out. It's kind of like eating one cookie a day or, having that one sweet treat. It's kind of like that. Especially if it's a really good show that you enjoy.
I think especially when you're feeling stressed, that's especially a time to build that time in too. Like I know I worked with my daughter. We talked about this quite a bit. She's a senior this year, graduating from high school next week, and it's one of those things where she gets feeling stressed out, and She wants to just take something that's going to allow it to kind of go away for a little bit, which is my reaction to at times. And so I'm like, okay, take 1 hour, give yourself 1 hour, permission to say, I have 1 hour. Because if you do that and you have a chance to de-stress and have some time for you, now again, that energy and that rejuvenation comes back. So you're more likely to be more productive, to be more happy, to be more excited about what you're doing, and probably actually be more productive overall.
Yes, I totally agree. Another thing that you talked about, Lavana, that I want to make sure that our attendees caught on to, um, you kind of touched on enlisting the help of others. And it made me think of this phrase, and I don't know where it originated or what, but I like to say no teacher is an island. Right? We can't do it all. And if you can think about, I know I'm really guilty of this. Like, I'm going to do everything by myself and I never think outside the box. How can I enlist the help of others? So, one example I can give is that little kids are very hard on their pencils, right? They like to eat them, bang them on the table, chew them. They get gross pretty quick. And I found myself every day after school sharpening the pencils every day for like, and I have 20 kids, so I'm sharpening 20 pencils. They're too little to do it themselves. And one day I just said, gosh, I think there's a fifth grader down the hall who's in detention who would totally love to come sharpen my pencils. And lo and behold, I freed up 10 minutes of my time by enlisting the help of another person, right? Who actually enjoyed it.
Yes, that is a great example.
Okay, good. I'm on the right track, you guys. I'm so excited.
No, you definitely are. And I love that because especially like I think of, I've taught quite a few different grade levels, and I think about those fifth graders and sometimes where we have a student who is a behavior issue or has the wiggles, and needs to get it out, but yet they don't know how. And because they don't know how, it creates an issue within the class. And then the teacher gets upset, and then that child gets in trouble. Well, what, not that it has to be that student by any means, but what a great opportunity for a fifth grade teacher in that case to say, hey, so and so, head down to Miss Levin's class, and I want you to sharpen some pencils for about 10 minutes and then come on back. Can't wait to see you back. Because
Yeah.
it gives them a chance to, value and worth and contributing, and to be a role model around, preschoolers or kindergartners, first grade, whatever grade they go to. And that was one of the things that when I used to do spelling tests, was I did individual spelling tests. And at first I was like, okay, this was a great idea, Lavana, but you didn't quite think this all the way through, because how are you going to give 22 different tests to every child that's different? And it was, we had pulled it from their writing, we had pulled words that they were reading and they didn't know how to spell, like, so they had a lot of say in what those words were. But then we also pulled it from, as they were writing something, they would circle it because they weren't sure how to spell it, or I would catch it. And I had, first my idea was, okay, instead of doing this individually, these tests, I'll still do that, but I can't do that by myself and manage everything. It's going to take too much time. So at first I thought about parents, but then the idea of using older students came in. And I did. I had fifth graders that came in, and they would sit with the students, and just the bonding and the relationship to watch that would grow. And they would see each other in the hallway and high five and how you doing and give hugs. I was like, oh my goodness, this was way more than I ever thought. So when we have the willingness to enlist the help of others, whether it's students, a parent, another adult, a colleague, peer, whatever, I just think that's so much value in building that culture. And again, going back to what we started with, is using the gifts and strengths of others to create a dynamic culture.
I love it. Absolutely. Because there's no need for pencils to ruin your day. You know what I mean? That's so insignificant.
I want to
Um,
sing Let It Go at this point. The song Let It Go from
yeah,
Frozen.
exactly.
I won't sing it because you wouldn't want that.
No, I agree. I think we've all had enough of Let It Go. Uh, yeah, nothing. There's nothing preschool teachers would like to hear less than Let It Go. So let's talk a little bit now. We've talked about the importance of it, of self care, and some ideas. Are there any drawbacks? Like, can not practicing self care have any negative effects on us?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think we see that, throughout the school year, and people not taking care of themselves and depleting themselves, and like we talked about earlier with viruses coming in and picking up common colds. And you think about even that first year teacher, so often they're sick because their immune system is still building up. Well, stress does the exact same thing. Stress will not only is it if your body's not used to it and you're building your immune system, now when you add stress as that layer to it, you're doing the same effect. You're reducing your immune system because you increase cortisol. And when you increase cortisol, you actually damage neurons in the brain. And yeah, like all it takes is for chronic stress, which is in the eye of the beholder, right? So chronic stress, like what you may see as chronic stress, I may not see as chronic stress. And actually, I define it as in 3 different levels. Like you can have a speed bump, which is a teeny tiny little problem, a little bit of stress, like maybe a flat tire, and you're like, oh, now I'm going to be late to school, or I'm going to be late getting home. And it interferes, but it's still a tiny problem in the scheme of things. And then I look at the next tier of problems as foothills, and those are bigger. It might affect our day, it might affect a week, but it's not something that we can't overcome or really struggle with and affect greatly, but yet it does affect us at a higher level. And then we have what I call the mountains. And those are the life-changing, stressful things that come along and that really hit us hard and can completely shake up our life if we let it. And so that, to me, that mountain is that chronic stress. But, I think about this with Vanessa, that your mountain, I believe, can be my speed bump,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's how you perceive that issue. And my foothill could be your speed bump. So it's all in how we approach it. And I love thinking about this when it comes to kids, and kids come to you and they're like, Johnny looked at me wrong. And you're like, really? He just looked at you wrong? Like, because as adults, we're thinking, okay, it's all right. He looked at you wrong. Move on. It's okay. But with little ones, that is like destroying. And for some of us too, as adults, it could be destroying depending upon who it is. But all of that creates stress. And when we create stress, though, that reduces our immune system as well, not only damaging the neurons in the brain, but it also, reduces our immune system. And so the more stress we get, the more that we're fighting to keep our immune system healthy. So that in itself is highly toxic for multiple reasons, as I said. So taking care of you to reduce that stress is critical, because it goes again, I can't say this enough, that if you don't take care of you, how can you take care of others?
Yes.
So you take care of you, reduce that stress. Now your immune system is boosted, you are feeling rejuvenated, and you're giving your all at the best that you can, but with taking care of you in mind.
Yes, I love it. So once again, you've given me some great ideas that I want to make sure that our audience hears, because going into a new school year, it's going to be crucial that you think about these things going in, because the beginning of the year is just as stressful as the end of the year for teachers. So going in, you probably already have some mountains on your plate, right? The paperwork, the parent meetings, meet the teacher, orientation, whatever you want to call it. You get to meet the kids. That's all new to them. It's new to you. It's just so many mountains occur in the beginning and the end of the year. And how we approach them is going to be key. Would you agree?
Yes, I think that's important to be aware of that mindset, because only you can change that mindset, right? So if I see something happens, like we'll go back to the flat tire, and I see a flat tire, and I think, oh my goodness, it's destroyed everything. Like, now I'm late for this. I didn't get a chance to copy this. I didn't get a chance to call this parent. I didn't get a and that if you quickly build that into a mountain, when it really, that is a speed bump. Unless it can be a foothill for people, like from the perspective, okay, now I have to buy, you can't buy just one tire, you have to buy 2, because they have to, wear the same, and that quickly pulls in finances. But my point of that is the mindset of how you approach it, is saying, okay, is this truly a mountain? Like, is this a life-changing moment? If it is, then how can I shift and do the best solution that I can? Because I can only do what I can do. But we put so much pressure on ourselves, and we stress about it and going, okay, we get hijacked, is what I call it. Hijacked with, okay, this happened. Okay, so I have to call this person. I've got to check with the bank. I've got to make this. I got to do this and that. And now you're hijacked. That's all you can think about is this so-called what is a mountain for you, but really should be more of a speed bump or a foothill. So having that mindset of saying, okay, this happened. What are some of my solutions? And Vanessa, we're going to go back to what you said, that no teacher is an island. Is that how you phrased it?
Yeah.
Yes. This is a great time when you feel that stress and you feel it's a mountain or you feel it's even a foothill. Who can you turn to that is great at dealing with those things, or great at problem solving, or great at saying, hey, I can take this piece for you if you can handle that? Because now that just became so much easier. And then everybody, again, you pulled everybody together to not be that island.
Yes, I love it. And you know what else? Well, first, a couple of things. You were talking about teacher mindset, and one of our other guests, Matt Halpern, was talking about student mindset. And it reminded me that yes, indeed, we're helping our students have a growth mindset, but we as adults, we need to be modeling that for our children, and in any way that we can, and be a good example of how that works. Like taking the flat tire as an example, on the way to work, maybe you had car trouble or flat tire and you show up, you're late, the kids immediately notice that, right? Maybe your assistant is teaching the class and they're like, where were you? What happened? They're all, just because their schedule and routine is off. And instead of saying, oh my gosh, I had a flat tire and I can't believe it, you might say, well, I had a flat tire, but it's okay now. And, everything's going to be okay. And just kind of showing them that when these kinds of things happen, there are ways we can deal with them. This is how I'm dealing with it. Would you agree with that?
I think that's a perfect teachable moment to model, because we don't know what all they're seeing. So if we come in and we're like, oh my gosh, I had a flat tire today, my day's ruined. I'm sorry I was late for you guys, but okay, now we got to figure this out. I get to run this off for you, and you're just, and you're grumpy and you're, at them. Like there's like, whoa, hold on. Okay, so this is how I should be when I have a flat tire and something goes wrong. Like instead, what a great opportunity to say, you know what, guys, I had a flat tire this morning and it stunk because I was late to be here with you, but here's what I did. I called a towing company and I have so and so handling it. And that's all that was this morning. But you know what? The rest of the day is going to be great. And that's where we often make a mistake, is we write off the whole day because of one moment.
Right.
And really, I remember it is a moment in time. And so, when things happen in the morning and then later on we see someone and how's your day been? They're like, oh, it's been a terrible day. It's been an awful day. Do you know, I had a flat tire at 7 this morning? Okay, that's at 7 this morning. What happened to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock? But we're still looking at the whole day as being bad, yet we miss all of these beautiful opportunities. And what I love from that example too, whether it's a flat tire or anything else, is to be able to say to students, this happened, but going forward, we're going to make choices and we're going to learn the lesson from that, that maybe I should leave for work a little bit earlier in case something like that happens. Or maybe I could, and we get a chance to share with them a way to solve it, because that to me is what it's about in life, is that things are going to happen. I recently said to my daughter that life is a journey. It's about enjoying the journey. Don't expect it to be smooth. Don't expect it to be perfect, because it's not going to be. But that's the beauty of it, is the lessons that come from it for you. Well, what an opportunity to share that with our students, of saying, but here's what I learned, and here's what I would do differently, or here's what I would take away from that. Because now they're going, oh, so when something happens, I just need to look for the lesson for me. Exactly. Yes.
Yes, that's when you know you're doing it right. So another thing, so we're talking about toxic effects of not taking care of yourself, but I wanted to shift a little bit into, because this is something I hear from a lot of the folks out there who are watching today. I hear this a lot. Maybe they know how to deal with these everyday things. They've got a handle on themselves and their self-care, but their outlook gets brought down by a toxic environment at the school, right? A toxic culture, constant complaining, constant negativity, constant conflict with your coworkers. And then all of that stuff that we have in place, maybe you have handed off your bulletin boards, maybe you have enlisted the help of someone to sharpen pencils, but the toxicity of the environment, what can you do about that when it tarnishes your shine? You can't shine in that kind of environment. What do you do about that?
You change environments. No. if you can. But no, what a great opportunity for you to be a light. I say that at the same time I caution, because when we feel like we constantly have to be the positivity and the light, that also can be draining, because you
Yeah.
can't constantly give. Like, you also have to be able to receive some of that. So, one, I would find a light at school, whether it's certain students, whether it's a parent that could come in, a positive parent who could come in one day a week, whether it's your assistant, but find those moments of positivity and start to create that. So we call them shine squads. And it can start with one person. But that person, I can find a second person, and it could be putting notes. Let's say you go into the teacher's lounge and you put positive notes up on the bulletin board, or in the bathroom, put like a couple post-it notes with positive quotes, and then leave a stack of post-it notes with markers and pens so that somebody else could contribute to that. One of the things that we do, and it's more for older students than early childhood, but maybe you could kind of run with this idea, is we have we give these little they're called shine share cards, and on one side it explains the movement of shine, but on the back it's blank. And we've had students write little positive quotes or positive sayings like "you rock," and they went into the library and they hid them in the library books. And that was a student idea with what to do with these cards, and this whole group of them did it. And I love that, because think about, it could be the next day, it could be the next year, it could be 10 years down the road, a student or an adult pulls that book out and opens it and finds this little note. So you start sharing that positivity and spreading that positivity. I see a lot of schools doing different things. Even doing, there was a cart recently I saw on Twitter where somebody took a cart and they had taken room service orders of the teachers. And that was more for like a teacher appreciation week thing. But why couldn't we do that with one person and then say, pass it on, pay it forward? It's those little kind of things. Now, if that seems like a lot, or you feel that it may not quite trickle, or it's not getting to the point where you want it to be, what are those things that only you can control? So maybe it's on the way to school, it's a certain song that you play, and that jazzes you up, and that's self-care. At the same time, you're getting a chance to have some positivity for you. Maybe it's listening to a particular podcast, right? Maybe it's looking at Pinterest. Or Vanessa, you give out such unbelievable content constantly through your Facebook pages and your website. And maybe it's tapping into a daily piece of that, finding something that's going to create that positivity for you to keep going. And what about at lunch? If going into the teacher's lounge doesn't work for you, then, and if you have, like, let's say an assistant, it's possible, an assistant that maybe you don't click with, or they have a negative attitude, could you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go take about 15 minutes and do a little bit of meditation on my own. You're welcome to join me, or don't pass on that invite. Take 15 minutes of meditation for you, or 15 minutes of walking for you, something that's going to allow you to have that time to rejuvenate, and put something in your ears so that you can listen to, whether it is a meditation tape or whether it's a song. Or I love listening to podcasts and books on tape. And that's how old I am to say books on tape, because who listens to books on tape anymore? I don't know, but
There's a saying, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's like, be a ray of sunshine in someone's day. Is that how it goes? Something like that, right?
something like that. Yes, I don't know the exact either, but yes, yes,
So, one of the pieces of advice I give to folks who are, there's so many teachers out there in toxic environments, whether that comes from a coworker, from the administration, or from the parents, or whatever, doesn't really matter. But to be that ray of sunshine, I feel like when you're driving to school or taking the bus or whatever, however you get there, think about how when you're confronted with that person that day, the negativity, the toxic negativity, how are you going to be a ray of sunshine in their day? And so this kind of comes from my days waiting tables. we we used to call it kill them with kindness, because sometimes you're waiting on someone and it's toxic, and they're a toxic person. And so I would just get even nicer. What else can I do? What else can I get you? Can I get you some more coffee, more sugar, more cream? So with that toxic person, I might think of what one thing. Now, I can't be constant positivity, because they probably don't want that. Yeah. But maybe one thing like, oh, I really, I don't know, something like, I really like your blouse today, or, oh, I noticed that you have a new pair of shoes, or, I don't, anything positive, right, Lavana?
Yes, 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 yes. And I actually love that point because I think it's important that Tony Robbins. If it, I don't, people are familiar with him or not, but he's a motivational speaker, and he says that where your focus goes, your energy flows. I love that. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if you have a person who is, negative Nelly, for lack of a better term right now, negative Nelly, where you focus, if you focus on the face that they make, for example, or the fact that they always, whatever it is that they do that drives you crazy, and that negativeness, or maybe it's the way their voices, or an inflection they do, or saying they have, like whatever it is that bothers you, if that's where your focus is, then your entire body and mind shift to the negative. So again, only you can control that. So going back to what you said, Vanessa, can I focus on the fact that I do like their blouse? So one of the things that I would say is look for something positive you can focus on with them, but I highly encourage make sure that you're authentic with that. Because
Yes.
the moment we're inauthentic, that they sniff that out, and then we
Right.
don't feel good. That doesn't help us feel better either because we realize we're being fake.
Yeah.
So if you love their blouse, comment on the blouse. If you like and notice their new shoes, comment on that. If they shared an idea or a strategy to use with a student, then yes, that's the things we focus on. And if it takes a moment for you to step back and say, okay, when I encounter this person next, what is
Right.
the positive with them? And you might be going, there isn't anything. Okay,
Right.
comment on how cute their nose is. I don't know. I'm throwing stuff out there. But something that is truly that you do mean. But what a great shift, because again, you can only focus, or you can only control that.
Right. I love it. So, I just want to make sure that our teachers today walk away with a list, like a big old list of things they can do. Like, because everyone's different, right? And we all have different needs or different ways that we accomplish this self care. So, let's just list some of the ways that teachers can practice self care that isn't going to break the bank because we know that teachers don't make a lot of money. So maybe going on a cruise isn't in the forecast. But what let's list out a bunch of things, Lavana.
Okay, so I'll start. We can kind of bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
Does that work? Okay. So read a book.
Yes. And if you're the kind of person that this resonates with, dollar store.
Exactly. Go on walks. I'm very big on being active because that just helps rejuvenate the oxygen and endorphins to the brain.
Right. And I hate to keep bringing it back to retail, but if dollar store is not your thing, then just shopping in general. I know that a lot of people enjoy going to Target, just enjoy it. And
Target
if
experience. Yes, you get your Starbucks and you just have a great time.
Yeah, exactly. If that's your happy place, go for it.
Yeah. I said this earlier, but I'm a big fan of even things such as bubble baths.
Right. Yes, I agree. And sometimes one of the things I like to do is to join like a book club. I know you talked about books, but for me, just talking with other adults and thinking at a higher level than I do with the little ones does a lot for me. So that kind of camaraderie with the book club folks and talking about a book that's for adults, that's on a higher level, that's not about Peter Rabbit or Pete the Cat, you know, that does something for me. And so I don't know that it does something for everybody, but it's an idea to do something like that.
Right. Well, I'm going to say the same thing. I mentioned walk, but working out in general. Whether it's something to like doing yoga or doing
Mhm.
something higher level like Zumba, which I don't know. Yoga, I sometimes think competes with Zumba because I sweat just as much or more. But going out for a run or finding a class of something that works for you. Like I know it depends upon where you live, but a lot of times they offer even free classes. Or
Mhm.
you start your own group. So just like you mentioned, a book club, start your own group of where we get together
Right.
and we work out. We try different things. Maybe we go out and bike, but finding what works for you for that.
Yeah, and I like the idea of doing something with a group of friends. Like for me, I probably wouldn't go out walking by myself. Like I would want to go with someone. So if you can find a group of friends, like at our school, I know we did, they had a public pool nearby, and the teachers would get together once a week and they would do like a pool exercise class. I would go and do something like that because I don't want to go to a pool exercise class by myself. But if I'm going with friends, then I'm more likely to do it. You know what I mean? And you feel great afterwards.
And that's what, so when you mentioned friends, I think too, what about just meeting up for coffee
Yes.
and just having some higher level conversation if you want, and maybe you have a focus for that conversation, or it could be just unfocused where you just get together and have some time together.
Yes, I think that's really important. Is so many times, not just as teachers, but as wives and mothers, we our friends kind of drop away, especially if you're wearing the role of wife, mother, teacher, grandparent. There's hardly any time left for friendships, and so everything becomes about working at school and working at home and having these just getting together for coffee is huge. I belong to a women's group where they meet all the time. Like I could go to one every day. I just choose one every month and I go to, and it's very rejuvenating. So, you know,
Yeah, no, and I think sometimes we forget about those simple things, and even like writing. It could be where you write for you, such as whether it's a journal, a diary, or you're writing poetry, or writing a card to somebody who you haven't talked to in a while, or somebody who was an inspiration to you, or even someone in your school, whether it's a parent or a student, just saying, "I was thinking of you." Like little tiny things like that. That could also be way one person takes care of themselves, because that's what they love to do, is to give time to others. But more specifically, it's not just giving again and serving others, but if you enjoy writing, then that's a great match because it fills you but also helps others.
yes, I really think that's a good point because sometimes doing things for others does make us feel better. And I think that even something as small as we have a little library in our community. I don't know if you're familiar with little libraries, but they're boxes. They look like bird feeders on a post,
Oh,
only they're big. Okay. So think of a big box.
okay.
And then there's a door in the front and it opens. And inside you put books. And that box on the post just lives there and people can come and take a book, give a book, take a book. There's no library card, there's nothing. You just drive up, give a book, take a book. And I love going to put books in that box.
Yes.
I don't know why, I just do. And it makes me feel good when I do that. And then I also like to see the other books that are in the box. And sometimes I take one, sometimes I don't. I just like to put books in the box. It makes me feel good. So,
Well, I love that idea. But how cool is that? And to be able to share. And then you made me think of, sometimes people say, well, if these walls could talk. Well,
right.
I think about the journey of that book. If this book could talk, like how cool would that be to say what went from this person to this person, and they learned this, and they took away from that, and then it ended up here, and it's been in these states. I mean, because you never know how far it could travel. It could stay, but it could be somebody who came in from somewhere else and said, "Oh, this is cool. Let me leave this book." Like
Yeah.
that's a really cool idea.
So for somebody who has very little time, maybe going to the pool and swimming once a week with your friends, maybe you can't because you have soccer practice, dinner to make, grocery shopping, laundry, all these things. But even these little things, right? Even these little tiny things can go into feeding the self-care. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes we think it has to be huge chunks of time or huge
Right.
events, activities. And going back to what we listed, but even saying, I'm taking 5 minutes in the morning, taking
Right.
5 minutes in the afternoon, I'm taking 5 minutes in the evening, where it's all about me.
Right.
Just knowing that you build in that time, and if you can over time, build that to be a little longer, but at least start and say, man, I just feel like I don't have any time in my day, but guess what? I am taking 5 minutes right now, or at 10 o'clock every day, I'm taking 5 minutes. It doesn't matter how much craziness is going on, because guess what? The craziness will always be there.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
5 minutes, put it in anyway, because the world isn't going to change with the 5 minutes that you just took. But yet, you personally can change because it built you back up.
Absolutely. So I think we've given our attendees today some good information to think about as they start this new school year, and they can take this information to help them sort of success in their personal lives at school, as well as help their children sort of success. Because yeah, if you aren't taking care of yourself, how can you possibly give it your all to your students, right? Give your all to your students. Because going back to that thing, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of yourself. And I think that is such an important thing for us to think about as we start a new school year. How are you going to make this year better than last? And I think one of the ways that you do that is by practicing self care. So, Lavana, what is that one thing that you want teachers watching this session today to take away?
You are as valuable as the people you serve. So that means you also have to take care of you. Because if you don't take care of you, who will?
Right.
So find that time, everything that we've talked about, just find, even if it's that 5 minutes or maybe it's that hour, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's 8 times a week, because you're building the extra one, like whatever it may be. But no matter what, find that time because you are as valuable as the people you serve.
I love that. I love, love, love it. You guys, if you want to learn more about Lavana, there will be a link below that you can click on that will take you to her site. What is the best site to connect with you, Lavana? Which one of those would you like us to put below?
For the website, I would put igniteyoursshine.com.
igniteyoursshine.com. So you want to learn more about the S.H.I.N.E movement and how you can get it started on your campus. I highly recommend that. We have many of our members in our community who are part of the S.H.I.N.E movement, and they can tell you that it's changed the way that their environment at school works for the better.
Yes. If you go to the site and they sign up, Vanessa, it sends them a jumpstart guide, one for each letter of S.H.I.N.E, of how to start building that.
And that's also very important for those of you watching who are directors and administrators in programs, and you want to get a positive, you want to increase your staff morale, and you want to have a more positive work environment, then you're really going to want to check out the Ignite Your Shine movement so that you can get it started on your campus right away. There's not a huge implementation process, right, Lavana? It's all very simple, right?
Right. It's not a program. We have lessons, digital lessons, that because teachers said, okay, I so want to do this, but I don't know exactly how to get that language and what it looks like in classrooms. So we have that there, but I will emphasize it is not a program because programs come and go and programs are lockstep. This is how you do it. No, this is about you creating the culture and you beginning to say, hey, we could do this little thing and this little thing and together. So it is not meant to be time consuming. It is meant to create the culture where you want to be so that others have that mindset and you're there to support, because that's when you want sort of success, that's where that happens.
Yes. So if you want your campus to soar to success, then you need to check out the Ignite Your Shine movement. So I'd love to just thank you so much, Lavana. Just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Lavana and I have known each other for a few years now, and I want to thank her for joining us today, and to all of you who tuned in. And if you'd like to spend a little more time with the ideas and suggestions we discussed in this session or any of the others, don't forget you can bring the sessions home with you along with some of our terrific bonuses. So just click on the link below the video, and don't forget prices go up the day after the conference ends. So thanks a lot for watching, and thank you, Lavana.
Vanessa, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity, and to everybody else for joining. But Vanessa, you are such a light and you shine to so many others, and you make sure you take care of you, my friend. All right?
I will try. So until next time, I'm Vanessa Levin, and bye.